this meeting to order. If you wouldn't mind, please stand while we salute the nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In attendance this evening are Supervisors Fisher, Aguizio, Cassiola, Savavic, and Fleer. In addition, Township Manager Don Januso, Jack King, Director of Planning, and Assistant Township Manager Sean Bukovinsky, Chief of Police, Engineer Dan Deiseroth of Gateway Engineers, and Township Solicitor Gretchen Moore. Fall leaf collection will continue until Thursday, November 19th. Leaves will be picked up Monday through Thursday during this period. Bagged leaves are to be placed out in biodegradable bags. Loose leaves must be raked to the curb, and is recommended to call the township the municipal building for pickup of loose leaves. The municipal offices will be closed Wednesday, November 11th, 2020, in observance of Veterans Day. Normal business hours will resume on Thursday, November 12th. The municipal offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, November 26th and 27th, 2020, in observance of Thanksgiving holiday. Normal business hours will resume on Monday, November 30th. I know it's not on the agenda, but at this point, we're going to open the floor for public comment for agenda items only. I would also ask that if you have a specific question related to 188-2020, which is the bond, we are going to have the two gentlemen in the corner do a presentation about the bond, at which point we can open it up for questions at that point. So I would say if you have a question related to anything on the agenda other than the bond item. Okay. Yeah, that's on my list. Next. The board held an executive session on October 29th, 2020. We did quasi-judicial deliberations related to the Connor Samuel well pad and pending litigation with the turnpike. Oops, I forgot an announcement, sorry. The 16th annual Toys for Tots drive, sponsored by Cecil Township Public Works Department at their garage on 3655 Millers Run Road, will be on Saturday, December 5th from 9 a.m. to noon. This event this year will be a drive-through event to drop off new unwrapped toys valued at $5 or greater. Monetary donations will also be accepted. Checks payable to Greater Washington Toys for Tots. If you want to step to the microphone, you can start the presentation on the bond. And thank you for coming this evening.
Good evening. My name is Sean Guerin. I'm with the law firm of Dinsmore and Scholl. We have historically served as the township's bond counsel. I've also seen you in capacity as bond counsel to the Cecil Township Municipal Authority. Tonight we're here in connection with the potential approval by the supervisors of indebtedness in the maximum principal amount of $10,500,000 as represented by this document in front of you, which is a debt ordinance. I'll step back a second and describe the fact that although there's been discussion about a project amount which would be under that amount, state law requires us to upsize this initial approval at each of the individual years that the bonds are sold at, so we end up with a little bit of a cushion at each of the proposed 30 years of the bond issue, resulting in a much larger size than you might expect for the ultimate bond issue that you were expecting to do in a couple of weeks. So that's just a brief explanation on the size. The ordinance authorizes essentially everything that the township would need to do with respect to the bond issue. Describes the project, which is on page 5. I could direct your attention there. It's the design and acquisition and construction of a public works facility, public park facilities, and other various capital improvements. The township facilities, including but not limited to volunteer fire department facilities, construction improvements. Subpart B is the local government units. That's the township's contribution to the municipal authority's sanitary sewer construction project in the Lawrence area of the township. And then finally paying costs of issuance related to the indebtedness. Ordinance would be the only required public action that the supervisors would be required to take. It would authorize us to make a filing once the bonds were sold by RBC Capital Markets. Mr. Mike McKay is here this evening from your investment banker. And then it would authorize us to prepare and distribute and negotiate any of the terms of the closing documents that would be delivered on behalf of the township at the closing on the bonds. Typically, from the time that we would sell the bonds until the time we would close would be approximately 30 days. So if things go as planned and the supervisors are in agreement that we move forward, the plan is to sell bonds here in the middle of November and then close presumably in the middle of December. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the ordinance or sort of the legal process. Mr. McCabe might be able to answer any questions on the bond issue, the market, the sizing, that sort of thing.
I have one question right off the bat. I think our managers told us that at some point we have to make that determination of exactly what we need with the pin the project down to the, to like the dollars and cents. When and he said the deadline might be pushed a little bit. When do we have to have our final numbers? Say, hey, we need 6.1 million as opposed to 6.4 or 8.1 instead of 8.4. When do we have to have basically permanent numbers?
I'll defer to Mr. McKay. I was tangentially involved in these discussions, and I don't recall exactly based on what the timing of our bond issue is and what the answer is to your question. So,
Yes. Thank you. As Sean said, I'm Mike McKay from RBC Capital Markets. It's an honor to be in front of you here this evening. If the township would like to keep on the schedule that Sean laid out, where we lock in the interest rates in the middle of November and close in the middle of December, we would probably like to have that number somewhere around in about 9 days or so.
Are those dates somewhat flexible? So say we have a discussion this evening and think that we're more likely to 2 weeks or so out from those final numbers. Will it dramatically impact our close, or it'll just be 30 days from when we get to that number?
It's 30 days from that point.
Okay.
We laid out the schedule because you start to get into, well, there's a holiday next week, and then you get into Thanksgiving. So, it's a quirky time with the calendar, I should say.
Right.
And so once you get around Thanksgiving, that's not the best time. So that kind of moves you into December, which moves you into closing into January. I guess the bottom line is you want to get the number right, but if you're close, one of the things I wanted to say was that interest rates are really very low right now. Just probably 6 weeks or so, we bounced off the all-time lows, or according to Bloomberg, visible or tax-exempt interest rates have not been this low since 1953. Now, we've come up a little bit from there, but rates are very, very low. There's been an enormous number of bonds, issuers refinancing their bonds and borrowing for projects. So you can get by that rates are really low. Now, I'm not saying, in a couple of weeks, I don't know where it's going to be, but I think they'll probably still be pretty low. But this is kind of there's been a lot of work that's been put into this schedule. And if you want to keep to that schedule, that's what needs to happen. If you want to alter the schedule, which is more than fine, we can do that as well.
I think we can get there in 9 days. I was just asking to be sure.
And just as an aside, the only other thing that I'm going to open it up to questions again, but I wanted to do a couple of things. First of all, there's, again, a lot of work's been done to this point. I wanted to thank Don for all of his attention. Really, a lot of work been done to get to this point. And also, your credit rating came back as a AA3 for Moody's, which is a very, very strong rating. So you should all feel really good about the rating that you received from Moody's. It's an independent look at the township. I think Don would share with you that I think we were close to maybe an upgrade, but with this COVID cloud hanging over everybody's head, I think they were a little cautious in maybe moving you up. The financial, the AA3 rating for a township like Cecil Township is a very, very strong rating, and it'll be reflected in lower interest rates. So I wanted to applaud you for that. The report is been published, and if God hasn't, he hasn't, you should circulate that to you because it says a lot of really good things about the township. So I wanted to add that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions by any other board members?
Yeah, on page 5, under the government unit, you'll see Allegheny County.
Oh, yeah. It's Washington County.
Pardon me?
I said thank you for that. I will correct it.
Good catch on. Just while you're here for a second, I'll open it up for any questions and then maybe see, before they sit down, does anybody have any questions?
What is the interest rate now?
The current interest rate, or as we sit here today, the interest rate is about 2 3/4% on a 30-year term.
Thank you.
And that's all inclusive of costs.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.